Hi, my name is Zach, and we're in this series called Why I Believe. And the purpose of this series is just kind of to help you grow in your faith, whether you believe very strongly or you're still trying to figure things out. Hopefully this series just kind of like helps you develop your faith a little bit more. Let's continue our series, and we talked about what the gospel is. Now let's just talk a little bit about who Jesus is and why believing in Jesus is important. And so there's this awesome parable that Jesus says, and this is in Matthew chapter 7, verse 24. I'm just going to read this and then we're going to talk about it. So it says, "So everyone who hears the words of mine and acts on them will be like a wise man who builds his house on the rock. And the rain fell, and the floods and torrents came, and the winds blew and slammed against that house, yet did not fall because it was founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who builds his house on the sand. And the rains fell, and the floods and torrents came, and the winds blew and slammed against that house, and it fell, and great and complete was its fall." So I don't know if you've ever seen a kid who has their video games taken away from them, and they place like all of their enjoyment, all of their fulfillment in life on these video games, and then their parent takes them away, and they're just crying, and they're just fully upset, and they're just like they've lost all the joy in their life. They can't enjoy anything else in life until they have their video games back. And that's kind of what this parable is talking about. It's talking about how what we put our enjoyment, our satisfaction, our foundation of our life, our identity in, becomes our foundation. And essentially, like things like video games aren't going to be a very good foundation, because you can't play video games all day, and you can't win video games all day. And Jesus is saying, if you want to build a strong house, if you want to build a good life, you should build it on the strongest foundation possible. And he's saying, my words, me, Jesus is the strongest foundation that you can build your house on, or build your life on. He talks about a storm coming. The rains fell, and the floods came, and the torrents came, and the winds blew, and slammed against the house. Yet it did not fall because it is founded on the rock. And when you think about it, it's kind of talking about how in life there's lots of storms that happen in our lives. If your foundation becomes circumstantial, then your foundation won't be rooted in something that lasts. If my foundation is having $1,000 in my bank account, then if I don't have $1,000 in my bank account, then my foundation's shaken. And all of a sudden, any little bit of wind can just blow me right over. And all of a sudden, I don't have any joy. All of my satisfaction in life is gone. And the firmer the foundation of what you put your trust in, the firmer your life is. I think a lot of people in the world put their foundation in, do I have a relationship? Do I have a good boyfriend or girlfriend? And that's a very shaky foundation, because people leave each other. That's like a common thing. Even in marriage, like people divorce. 50% of people divorce. 40% actually. 40% of people divorce, and that's not a strong foundation. Do you want a chance of 40% chance of you not being happy? I just think that's a bad way to live your life. And Jesus thinks so too. That's why he wants a relationship with you, because his relationship is never going to change. He is always faithful, but Jesus is eternal, and the satisfaction that comes from being in a relationship with Jesus is eternal. The joy that comes from Jesus is eternal. The peace is eternal. It never fails. It's always there. It's always available when you trust in God. And so basically what he's saying is trust in Jesus, trust in him, And when the floods come, when the storms of life hit, when the winds blow, when they slam against your house, when they slam against your life, if your foundation is built on something that's weak, it's going to fail. But if it's built on Jesus, it's going to last. And that's why you should believe. So please join us again for, we're going to continue this series on why you should believe.